From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Gulf Coast studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I am your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast. This is Andre Johnson. Jr. Do not forget the Jr. is very important. Remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, to share, to rate, to review. If you're watching us on YouTube, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, get the bell notification for when we drop that fire content. Also, hello to the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here. Please stay here. There's a lot of content here. We don't care how you got here. We're just glad that you are here. So tell your friends about the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Andre, it is Monday. Victory Monday for just the second time this year. The Saints, the black and gold, go to Carolina and get the victory. A well-earned win, not a fluky win by any stretch of the imagination. They went to Carolina and thoroughly beat their NFC South foe, the Carolina Panthers. Of course, we're going to get into that because if they won, that also means a certain quarterback won. And you know we're going to go there today. I'm blending in with the back wall here. I'm sitting here with this blue shirt, so I kind of like this thing here. So anyway, all right, how you feeling on this Monday?
I'm feeling good. You know, we don't get many Victory Mondays here in the city. This is only our second one, and I don't know how many more we're going to get. So I am going to cherish this Victory Monday. And like I said, the first Victory Monday, I'm going to try not to make it an overreaction Monday. But there is a lot to be excited about because the Saints came into the game in Carolina, 5.5-point underdogs against the Carolina team that had won 4 of their last 5. And Tyler Shough made history in a way. He became the first Saints rookie to win a game since 1981. The longest streak, or drought, I guess you could say, in the NFL, finally broken. Tyler Shough winning a game for the Saints as a rookie, beating the Carolina Panthers in a pretty big upset. So that leads us to the big picture topic, Sean. What did he prove? What did he show you in that big upset on Sunday?
All right, let's get into this because I watched that game unfold. You kind of alluded to it. I'm going to reiterate it. I'm not here to overreact. I'm not here to underreact. I'm just here to react accurately to what I saw Sunday with Saints rookie quarterback Tyler Shough. First thing, big picture off the top of the page, big headlines. Biggest of big picture is simply this about his performance. Just by watching him play, you would have never known that was a rookie making his second start. The body language, the poise, you can just feel Shough's maturity, his mature presence on the field. In fact, if you told someone who had no idea about the Panthers and Saints, and they just watched the game and said, pick the rookie quarterback based on the game they just played, the answer would have almost certainly been by that unknown person who had no idea about the Saints and Panthers, Bryce Young, both by the way they play, and frankly, one looks like a rookie physically and one does not. There has been a lot of talk about Tyler Shough's age, and usually that talk is met with a negative tone. He's already 26, yet he's a rookie. Well, Shuck, based off one game, and it is one game, kind of flipped that script on Sunday into a positive. Yes, he's a rookie, but he's a 26-year-old rookie. Big difference between 26 and, say, 21 or 22. And like I said, you can feel that maturity when he plays. As for his actual football play, remember, this is very important. We are not looking at it through the lens of Shuck versus Rattler. That ship has sailed. That debate is over. We are looking at it through the lens of, is he the franchise guy or not? And I think we can safely say, after Sunday's win, he's taken the first step in showing that he can be that guy. Let me emphasize, it's only the first step. Still a long way to go, but it was a positive first move. Shuck excelled in all aspects, the biggest being my biggest concern of his, poise under pressure. Did not panic when the blitz came or the pressure came. In fact, he made the Panthers pay when they brought pressure. He navigated muddy pockets, extended plays when needed. He was money. Let me reemphasize that. Money on third down. From his very first one to Juwan Johnson, where he escaped a sack and navigated and found him open downfield, to keeping drives alive all game long. He was accurate. He was explosive. 4+ plays, 4 plays of 25 or more yards, passing plays in this game. Took care of the ball. No real turnover-worthy throws. If you really go back and watch it, I mean, he made some difficult throws, but they weren't really turnover-worthy. And if you look at the passing plays that were called, you could tell Kellen Moore has faith in Tyler Shough. He called more plays with more spacing downfield with the route concepts. Huge for a quarterback and play caller to be on the same page. He had a great game. Yep. He looked fantastic, and they needed him to be fantastic because he was in a game where it was a little bit of a grinded out type of game. If I were grading him, I'd give him an A-. Why the minus? I didn't go higher because if I hit one for this, I got to hit him for this. Only 17 points. Still only 17 points, which was more than enough in this game, but I think at some point the game will dictate needing more points, and hopefully that day comes soon. And based off of what we saw Sunday, feels like that day is coming soon. And if you're the Saints, you have to be pleased with what you saw, right? I mean, you have to be pleased with what you saw out of Shuck. If he gives them this level of consistency over the next 7 weeks, and let's just say they win 3 or 4 games, which is entirely possible, they will not draft a quarterback. They will not. And believe me when I tell you this, I think this is a very important distinction to make. They don't want to have to draft a quarterback. They wanted to work with the guy they have right here, who guy that they feel is a very mature 26-year-old rookie. So the normal growing pains you would see from a young person playing quarterback, you're not necessarily having to deal with that with Tyler Shough. So long way to go. Only 2 starts, one of those a victory, but I think we can safely say that's the best a quarterback has played for the Saints this year. So I think he had a good day.
Not only is that the best a quarterback has played for the Saints this year, that's the best the quarterback has played for the Saints going all the way back to that 2-0 miracle start last season. Mm-hmm. He was better than even a lot of Derek Carr's games last season. So to start this off, Rat Pack, I hear the Shuck squad is still accepting new members. It is not too late to join. Because what we saw on Sunday, hey man, you know, it's not too late to make the Shuck switch. But all jokes aside, I mean, Tyler Shough proved that he could be the guy, and that's what this season is about. It's about seeing if you have the guy at the most important position in professional sports, quarterback. I'm not saying he is the guy, just like if he had a bad game on Sunday, I wouldn't come here and say, oh, well, we know for sure he's not the guy. I would need to see a few more games. I still need to see a few more games from Tyler Shough, but I think that was a solid performance. I would give him an A in that performance. I mean, 19 for 27, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns. He didn't put the ball in danger. He was poised, but also willing to take a deep shot and be aggressive. He elevated the people around him, and I touched on this on Friday. And this was more about Kellen Moore when I said it on Friday, but I talked about elevating the people around you. That's what a good point guard does. That's what a good quarterback does. Alvin Kamara, who had been colder than pretty much any running back in the NFL, had his second best game all season. He finally was able to find some space. Devin Neal, the rookie, he looked pretty good on Sunday as well. Jawan Johnson, it's the first game in a while that I can't think of a Jawan Johnson drop. Jawan Johnson played well. Chris Olave had his best game of the season. Kellen Moore, the head coach, called his best game of the season, in my opinion. Yeah. With Tyler Shough in the game, the level in the room for everybody else rose up higher. The level that they had been playing at for the past 2 months rose up higher, and it showed in the performance. Bryce Young is a third-year player that was drafted #1 overall, and he looked completely out of place on the other side of the field from Tyler Shough. You mentioned it. Bryce Young looked like the rookie who didn't know what he was doing, and Tyler Shough was out there playing like a veteran. I mean, Kellen Moore able to really get into his bag of play calling with Tyler Shough. It was a great game to watch, a big surprise in a way, but it ultimately brought me to, I did a little glass half, full. Now I got to do a little glass half empty. Why did we waste 8 weeks? This is what Tyler Shough looked like in his second start. We could have had this in week 2. Like both of us said at the start of the season, why couldn't we have started Tyler Shough? Because it was close in the preseason. You went to pretty much every practice. It was close in practice, but what we saw on the field, that wasn't close. Tyler Shough is the best thing that we've seen at quarterback for the Saints, at least in a single game, since the 2-0 miracle start where they beat the Cowboys and the Panthers last year with Derek Carr. And technically, Shuck's numbers are even better than Derek Carr's were in that game. That was just more of an all-around team situation. So it kind of stuck me as well. I was like, man, if we were playing like this in week 2 instead of week 10, maybe the tone and goals of this season would be completely different. But you know what they say about ifs. I'm not going to get too deep into ifs and hypotheticals. End of the line, Tyler Shough played a very good game. He's going into a bye week where I'm sure he can really settle in and dive deeper into the playbook and into the system. But one good game isn't enough.
No.
I am very happy to see Tyler Shough play a good game. Now let's stack good games, because coming out that bye, you've got Atlanta, very beatable team. You've got Miami, despite the upset over Buffalo yesterday.
Sporadic, man.
Yeah, very beatable team. You've got the Tennessee Titans on the schedule. You've got the New York Jets on the schedule. You get to see those Panthers you just beat again. You got the Falcons again. You might even be able to beat the Bucks again. And all of a sudden, it's something this city has not had in their football team in a little minute. There's hope, and that's just an exciting thing to be a part of.
And you said it. I mean, it's just things have really gone off the deep end for really. I mean, if you want to think about it, since the last time they were in Carolina. I mean, it's just been bad thing after bad thing after bad thing since the last time they were in Carolina. So the hope is maybe this time the visit to Carolina is the turn in the opposite direction. Maybe the turn back upward, because what goes up must also come down. A couple things that I wanted to bring up that you had mentioned there. I wasn't going to go there just yet with the why did they wait this long? You went there. Let me just say, I think by the end of the year, that's going to be a very valid question, because, look, it was a Carolina they were not as good as their record. We all agreed on that. But it was a 5-4 team, and it was on the road, and a team that was red hot. They had won 4 straight games in a row. And he looked like the veteran. So did all it take was one game, one quarter really, where they didn't even possess the ball for 17 minutes to overcome whatever the transition period is, and all of a sudden he's kind of there? I guess we'll see. It just felt like if that is indeed the case, and you just go back and your head just starts to spin, well, man, they could have had this in week 1 or week 2 or week 3. Or maybe they make the switch after week 4, and maybe you're catching a little bit of momentum, and maybe you're not 2-8 right now, maybe you're 4-6 right now, and it's not just next year's draft is the most important thing right now. So I do think those are all fair questions. I do think we'll get the answer in due time. But I think at the end of the day, what has impressed me is it's not too big for him. In fact, he has gotten tangibly better at the one thing that I was extremely concerned with him about, which was under pressure, what he was going to do, because he had some really panicky plays during training camp and preseason. Remember the throw off Cesar Ruiz? And that was very concerning to me, because that's something you don't always just do better at. Sometimes that's just a natural instinct. And he has done better with that. I mean, some of those passes, I'm going to break one down on B&G tonight, a throw to Chris Olave, not the touchdown throw, a throw kind of on an over from the opposite side, I mean, where he's getting hit, he's throwing. I'm like, that is next level play right there. And he did like 6 of those in the game. Hopefully that's where the progress is going up. I will also say sometimes you catch a team at the right time because you are so new, so fresh. There's only one game of tape on you. So we'll see as the season progresses and more tape catches up to him, how he's able to adapt and evolve after that. I do think Kellen Moore learned from last week to this week what he can and cannot call with Tyler Shough, and he called a pretty decent game. There were a couple questionable things that I thought at times he went too heavy with Taysom. But I thought at the end of the game when he closed out with Taysom was obviously a good thing, because I think he kind of took over the game at the end. But ultimately, I think you're seeing the seeds of a possible franchise quarterback, which more than anything else, because they know they're not going to get anywhere to where they once were unless they find the quarterback. And they have now tried like 7 or 8 guys. This organization wants more than anything else to have the guy at that position. Can he be that guy? We'll have to wait and see. But Sunday was indeed a good start. And I'll just say this. You got to feel good. I mean, it's good to wake up and have this feeling on a Monday morning. Maybe I have the guy. And maybe the guy we need is already in the building, and his name is Tyler Shough. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, he made some high-level throws, and you touched on a few of them. And I'm not saying great throws for a rookie.
Yeah.
He made some great throws. The third down where he evaded the pressure and threw on the run across his body to Juwan Johnson for a 52-yard gain. That's a big-time throw. The deep ball to Chris Olave, I don't care that J.C. Horn fell down. That's a handoff. That was a 50-yard handoff to Chris Olave, beautifully placed. He had one to Devon Vele in the middle of the field where the window was tiny, and he squeezed it between two defenders. And then another one, this one was an incompletion, but it speaks to what you said about panic. Where before he would, if he was pressured, kind of just throw it, intentional grounding. That was one where they were backed up against their own end zone, and the pressure came. And the sack was about to happen, and he threw it at the feet of Devin Neal.
That's it.
Incompletion, nobody's going to remember it, but it's little things like that that show progress. Because that could have easily been a save. If that was intentional grounding in the end zone, if he just threw it away or panicked or took the sack, fumbled, so many worse things could have happened. But having the awareness to see, it's okay, my check down's right there, throw it at his feet, that's what you're seeing. And he didn't get that from playing because he hasn't been playing. I mean, the guy's been sitting for so long. And so many NFL quarterbacks have said, you learn from playing. And I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, it was just the Carolina Panthers. That's the Carolina Panthers team that had Jordan Love, who's considered a top 10, 12 quarterback in the NFL, in shambles. That's a team that had Tua Tagovailoa, who just beat the Bills yesterday, in shambles. This is a Panthers team that has been on fire. This is a Panthers team that you take the game out that they played with Andy Dalton, had won their last 4 games with Bryce Young at the helm. This is a Panthers defense that had been playing pretty well. Tyler Shuck came in and he was the best player on the field. But I know I just took my glasses off. They say hindsight's 2020. I think that really might be the question when we get to December. Let's say Tyler Shuck finishes the year 4-4 in the games he played. Let's say that the Saints are 5-12 by the end of the year. You're looking back and you're saying, man, if the Saints started 4-4 this season, instead of sitting here talking about April and drafts and whether you want a quarterback or not, we could be talking about the wild card playoff chase. This Saints, the trajectory of this season could have been completely different. In one game, in his second start, Tyler Shough had a better game than Spencer Rattler did in 15. He beat his career high in passing yards in his second start. He had multiple passing touchdowns, something Rattler did twice in his career. In my opinion, I wish they had started with Tyler Shough so that the team would be further along now, but you are where you are. Right now, this is where the team is, coming off an upset win, going into a bye, and hopefully they can get a win streak going.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's always that debate about the bye week, and now you'd almost feel like, especially for a rookie quarterback making his second start, he's kind of in a little rhythm right now to take the week off. You'd almost want him to just keep on going, but the schedule is what the schedule is. So, job well done. That's all you can really say is job well done. And again, there's the dueling objectives here, because you want to develop, you want to win. You don't want to. They're not in the business of tanking, but you also have to see, okay, is this guy good enough to avoid what's happening or what's coming next in the NFL draft? And a big part of that is going to depend on wins and losses, which is where they end up picking in the NFL draft. So if they keep playing like that, or if he keeps playing like that, he'll have his team in plenty of positions to win more often than not heading down the stretch, because there's a lot of very winnable games, as you mentioned, down the stretch. So if they can somehow win for those games, you're probably talking about we'll look at another position, which they have a lot of other needs other than just quarterback.
That would be the best case scenario, honestly.
And roll with the Tyler Shough show. So all in all, great performance. I actually thought the first third down conversion, the one in Juwan, was the most important, because he had gotten sacked the play before, and he was about to get sacked again, and you're almost going to get that narrative in your head, oh, he's panicking under pressure. No, he breaks contain, looks downfield, finds Juwan Johnson, turns the field around, he gets all the way down to the Panthers 30, and I just thought that really set the tone for the rest of the day. He looked poised and comfortable the entire afternoon. So a job well done by Tyler Shough. Job well done by the Saints defense, who really shut down Rico Dowdle and basically said, Bryce Young beat us.
He couldn't.
He couldn't do it. And look, this is year 3 for Bryce Young. You're a Panthers guy. I don't know. If I'm them, I'm starting to wonder, what does this guy do well? And what can this guy really, truly lead my franchise to where we want it to go?
He can hand the ball off to Rico Dowdle really well. But ultimately, they should have been having questions about Bryce Young his rookie year, his sophomore year, year 3. In year 3, he just got outplayed by a rookie making his second start.
Yeah.
There's a lot of concerns about Bryce Young that they need to address. They might want a Tyler Shough in their locker room. But one very important thing that I can't believe I didn't bring up earlier when it comes to Tyler Shough, what promoted because I thought about A- as well. What bumped me up to an A is you can make a lot of excuses for Tyler Shough. Tyler Shough was down 2 starting offensive linemen, and Eric McCoy and Taliese Fuaga, who did not play. A 3rd starting offensive lineman got traded 5 days before the game in Trevor Penning. One of his most dynamic players on offense, Rashid Shaheed, traded. So he had to go into battle without Rashid Shaheed, without 2 of his starting offensive linemen, and a 3rd lineman got traded. That's all. From what I hear, it's very difficult to win games with a patched-together offensive line, and when you don't have your receivers, this, that, and the other. None of that mattered. He did not care. He went out and balled. He took care of business. He did what he needed to do. And most importantly, the Saints got a win.
Feels good. It just feels good to feel like, okay, maybe there is a little hope here. Maybe there is a little something here. Maybe they can, find some footing here. Maybe they can make this season a little bit more respectable towards the end than when the beginning. One thing that I did notice, though, and they did this better in this game really since maybe the Buffalo game. Yeah. They ran a football. Alvin Kamara looked good. Taysom had his moments. Devin Neal looked good. And, I went back and rewatched it, and it really boils down to 2 words. It's outside zone. I'm telling you, I've complained about this throughout the season. I don't know what Kellen Moore's go-to running play is. Is it inside zone? Is it duo? You would see a little bit of outside zone sprinkled in. But last Sunday against the Panthers, they really focused in on outside zone. I'd have to get the actual analytics on how many based off all the running plays, but I'd be willing to bet it was majority outside zone. And what is outside zone? It's letting a guy make one cut, read the crease, and go. Not stop, start, like you do in some of the other running plays. And I thought Alvin flourished in that area. He even had a 16-yard run. That was almost a zone read from Taysom. But I thought that was the difference. That and, frankly, look, maybe they knew what they were doing with Trevor Penning because now all of a sudden Dylan Raines is in at left guard. Yeah. They run the ball much better. Maybe that's the case. But I thought the usage of the outside zone and the usage of Taysom in certain spots, again, I thought they went a little overboard early in the second half, but to close it out that way, I thought was a bit of a statement because they had the ball. I think they got the ball back on that final drive. They had over 6 minutes on the clock. It was a 14-play drive, and they didn't get the ball back. Yeah. That's an impressive way to close out a game. That's a alpha male way to close out a game on the road in your division. And they basically just said, we're running it down your throat so you can't stop us. And guess what? Carolina couldn't stop them.
Yeah, and it was one of our fan questions, and it was similar to what you just said. How do you feel about Tyler Shough being taken out of the game in certain key situations on 3rd and 4th down to bring Taysom in? I don't want to say back in the day because it hasn't been that long ago, but Taysom Hill's QB power on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 used to be one of the most highest percentage plays in the NFL. And lately, the last few weeks, the Saints have tried it in certain 4th down situations. It hasn't worked as well. And it hadn't really worked. Right now, I think I'd rather Tyler Shough out there. But I did think it was a good decision to have Taysom in at the end of the game where it's kind of like, number one, stop Tyler Shough from taking any hits. Let Taysom and AK be that dynamic 1-2 two-headed rushing monster. Let them do what they do to kill the clock. But, yeah, I would kind of like to see Tyler Shough in there on 3rd and 4th downs because the thing about Taysom Hill, he doesn't just have to be at quarterback to produce. Right. You could put Taysom Hill anywhere from, we've seen him flourish at running back, receiver, tight end, fullback. There are so many different positions Taysom can play to contribute to this offense. So if putting him at QB and letting him do his QB power thing isn't working, try him out somewhere else, Yeah. I'm curious to see if that's something the Saints do moving forward.
Yeah, and I still think we haven't even seen the one aspect of Tyler's game that I thought was underrated. He can run. Yeah. I mean, we saw it in a preseason, and don't be surprised if around the goal line, 11, 12-yard line, or if you're inside the 10, inside the 5. You run that zone read or you run that naked bootleg with Tyler Shough when you fake the handoff and he runs around the end and scores one, because I'm telling you, he can really move on the edge. So that hasn't even been unleashed yet. So there's a lot of fun things you can do with that. And you can almost envision Taysom being in the backfield, Alvin being in the backfield, Tyler also back there has got that mobility as well. So they haven't even scratched the surface on what they want to do with that. But I thought it was very, very clear how much better Alvin ran when they did outside zone. The blocking was cleaner. His vision was better. He seemed to have regained a step a little bit. And I've always joked, I call it Talvin Hamara. It's Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara, because there was a point in time in this offense where that was the two-headed monster. That's how you won games. If both those guys combined for 25 touches, they usually won games. They had 32 touches in yesterday's game. Alvin looked fast, looked well-balanced. That 4th and 1 run was probably the most underrated play of the whole game, where he got stopped behind the line of scrimmage and he still was able to slip through there. And then Taysom closing things out with the tough yards that he brings. Now, I don't think either one of them can do that take over ability now week in and week out, but I do think if you use it in right spots, you can squeeze just enough out of them to where they're effective, and I thought Sunday was the perfect example of that.
And I'll tell you what, Panthers, y'all got a lot of nerve, because I was listening to some post-game locker sound, and Ike Ekwonu, their young left tackle, essentially said they took the Saints lightly. It was almost a trap game. They didn't put the level of devotion in throughout the week to be as prepared as they needed to be on Sunday. It ain't been that long since the Panthers were 1-8, sitting at the bottom of the league.
Right.
The Carolina Panthers are not in a position to take anybody lightly. That's such a weak excuse for me, because if there's anybody who knows what it's like to be at the bottom of the league, it's the team that's been there for 8 years since they lost Cam Newton, essentially. So the Panthers acting like they took the Saints lightly was crazy to me. But, hey, sleep on a team, sometimes you get knocked out.
Saints going to mess around and sweep the Panthers, watch.
Hey,
they might sweep the Falcons. How bad did the Falcons look? My goodness. I mean, they got the overtime, and then I don't know what's up with Penix lately.
He's up and he's down.
Got some bad misses, man. We'll see. All right. We got a few more seconds here. Yeah, we got to get out of here. All right, for Andre Johnson Jr., I'm Sean Fazende. Thank you for watching or listening. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.